Hello everyone and welcome back to the Artistry Works channel. Hope you all had a great weekend and happy daylight savings time. I want to try something new on the channel today. In my first video I mentioned how I want to discuss the business side of being a musician and the importance of running your own business. With the news of a third stimulus package being passed and a subsequent third check going out to many Americans, I thought this would be a great time to discuss the importance of personal finance and what to do with that $1,400. For any of my non-American friends out there who may or may not have received such government aid, much of this will still be of interest to you, I hope. So today we're going to cover three main objectives that can be accomplished with the newest stimulus check. Number one is going to be paying down debts. Number two is going to be starting an emergency fund, cash savings account. Number three is going to be investing. I'll give you a real look into some of my finances to show you exactly what it is that I'm doing. Now, this isn't meant to brag or gloat in any way. I'm not a wealthy man, I'm still a jazz bassist, but I do hold many investments and I have no debt whatsoever. No student loans, no car payments, none of that. Totally debt-free, and it feels great. And I think everyone, through discipline and some sacrifice, mostly the willingness to delay gratification, can achieve very similar results. I don't do anything that any regular person can't do. I just have a mind for how finance works, and I really want to share that with all of you, mostly because it's so easy just to get started. And if you can get started and maintain a habit of it, you'd be amazed how quickly you can get your money to grow. You worked hard for it, you should keep as much of it as possible. So with that being said, let's get to it. So one of the first things I searched for was an article from NerdWallet about debt. 2020 American Household Credit Card Debt Study. Now, when we look at the total owed by the average U.S. household, almost $150,000. Now, I would think most of that would be mortgage payments on a house, but that's labeled right here that the average mortgage is just under $200,000, which is pretty understandable for a house in the United States. But we look at $7,000 in credit card debt. Doesn't seem like a huge number, but it's not nothing either. Car loans under $30,000, yeah, that sounds about right if you're buying a brand new car, which, by the way, you should absolutely never buy a brand new car unless you are a millionaire. Buy something between 3 and 7 years old, slightly used, certified pre-owned, check the Kelley Blue Book, check the Carfax, all of that, no accidents. That's the kind of car you want to get. It's already lost the majority of its value, and it will serve you well for the next few years. Student loans, that's a sad one. When I graduated music school, I had about $25,000 in debt. Some people take out a lot of debt for school, and I think that is a terrible idea. But it's your life, it's your education, do what you will with it. If I were you, I would focus at least half of that $1,400 on paying back some of your student loans. If you can take out $700 of it in one fell swoop with some help from the government, I think that will be a great idea. So now you see just how much some Americans owe in some very typical facets of life. Take this opportunity to knock out some of that debt, whatever you may have, be that car payments, student loan payments, what have you. I promise once you get in the habit of taking a certain amount of your income every month and paying down debt, you'll pay it off a lot faster than you think you can. Pay a little bit more than the minimum every month and it'll be gone before you know it. And then you get the amazing feeling of being debt-free. So now let's move on to objective number 2 of what to do with this stimulus check. If you already spent $700 on some of your debt, you still have $700 more to go. Now, if I were you, I would put at least $100 in an emergency fund. Now, what is this? This is a cash account that you try to pretend as if it doesn't exist. Think of it as money that you're not allowed to touch because it's money that you would only use in an emergency. This could be car problems, this could be health issues, hospital bills. This is money that you only draw from when you absolutely need it. You'll find as we get into objective number 3 that investments can take a little longer to liquefy. That means if you hold a certain stock, when you sell it, you often don't get the money right away. It needs to clear first. So that means it has to take a couple days before you can actually receive the cash for the sale of an investment. So with an emergency fund, it's very liquid. That means you can move the cash around as soon as you need to. Now, where do I keep my emergency fund? Glad you asked. I use a bank called Yotta. Funny name, very effective. Why is it so good? I'll tell you. So, for anyone that likes playing the lottery, which I personally do not, I think playing the lottery is a terrible idea. I think the odds of winning the Powerball are 1 in 300 million in the United States. So, Yotta Bank took an idea from the United Kingdom in which people put money into a regular old bank account. It's FDIC insured for everyone up to, I think, $250,000. So most of us don't have that kind of money, so God forbid the bank fails, our money would be safe. So Yotta Bank is great because it combines the fun of picking numbers for a lottery while still being a bank that holds your money and pays you interest every month. So what do I mean by playing the lottery? So for every $25 you have in the bank, you will receive one lottery ticket. You can pick the numbers yourself or do an auto pick. The best part is your tickets are recurring, meaning you don't need to spend more money every week to get a new one. So if you put $100 in, you'll receive 4 recurring tickets. The odds of winning a few cents are actually pretty high, but the odds of the $10 million grand prize are astronomical, so that's not happening. If you can get $1,600 in the bank, you can pick a different Powerball or Yotta Ball number and be guaranteed to win no less than 10 cents every week. But hey, that's still more than what most banks are paying in interest every month. So this is just one idea to get started with an emergency fund and have a little fun picking lottery numbers along the way. If you click my sign up link in the description below, you both get 100 tickets, good for just 1 week, as a thank you bonus for signing up. So check it out. So now we still have $600 left to spend from our $1,400 stimulus check. What can you do next? Well, let's move on to objective number 3, investing. I'm going to show you some of my investment portfolios with stocks and real estate and explain a little bit more about it. The easiest way to start would be a website called Acorns. Now, Acorns is great because it invests your spare change, meaning if you spend $2.50 on a cup of coffee, 50 cents will be invested into the markets. This is easily the most passive way to get started because it's just a few coins at a time. For instance, in the last 30 days, I've only invested $37, so that's barely over $1 a day that's getting into the markets. But because I've been doing this for a few years now, you can see that my overall gain is $364, and that's just from investing somewhere along the lines of $1 a day. Now, what exactly is the market specifically? Well, I'm glad you asked. So what Acorns is going to do is buy shares in different types of companies: large, small, medium, and international company stocks. Each stock will be a specific index fund. That means it's tracking an index like the S&P 500, for example. So what you're doing is buying fractions of a share in these exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, that trade on something like the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. So this is just one example of how to get started in the easiest possible way. I'll leave a link in the description down below where you can sign up and join today. I think we both get something like $5 for me referring friends, which is a great way to get started with this. Acorns has a fee of $1 a month, which is nothing compared to the money that you'll be making once you slowly get into the markets. Now, if you want to be a little bit more advanced than this, what you're going to want to do is start a retirement account. Now, I go through a website called Wealthfront. Now, this does something very, very similar to what Acorns does, where you're investing in index funds. So funds that track an index like the S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial, the NASDAQ, for example. Wealthfront is a website in which you need at least $500 to get started. But if I look at my contributions, so I've been about 6 years investing now. 2020 was obviously a rough year here with the market crashing in March, but it's come back very, very strong. So after investing almost $6,000, I have a little bit more than $8,000 invested total. So the great thing about Wealthfront is it's going to choose the stocks for you. Again, these are very broad-based stocks. You can tell just by the names: US stocks, foreign stocks, emerging markets, real estate, and even some cash. So as I mentioned, you do need $500 to start, but if you can get just that much, I think you'll get at least 4 or 5 of these right off the bat. Once again, I'll have a link down below where we will both get an extra $5,000 managed for free. Now, this site is actually substantially cheaper than Acorns. Acorns is $1 a month, which is like nothing. Wealthfront is something like a few pennies a month. I'm serious. It's a very, very, very small amount. The more money that you have in here, the more money they charge you, but it takes a long time to even get to $1 a month. So again, click the link below and we will both get an extra $5,000 managed for free. I have 3 different types of investment accounts. Now what are they? The traditional IRA and the Roth IRA are very similar. The best thing about the traditional IRA is that all of your contributions are tax deductible. So if you make $40,000 in a year and you put $5,000 into this IRA, you can write off $5,000 worth of income, which is great. The Roth IRA is also very good because this, while not being tax deductible, will be completely tax-free income when you take it out. I think the age limit is 59 and a half currently under US law. So once you're older than 60, you can take out all the money that you have in your Roth and you will not pay taxes on that income, which is wonderful because paying taxes sucks. And the last type of account, which you'll notice I have a smaller amount in my personal investment account, this is not a retirement account. This is good because you can take the money in and out as often as you like. It still takes a few days for the sale to be completed because you are selling investments, but it's a bit more liquid than the other two. Actually, there are major penalties for taking money out of an IRA before the age of 59 and a half. I think it's something like a 25% penalty for taking money out of those accounts. So kind of like how we mentioned the emergency fund, yeah, you can only use it in a real emergency. These are no joke. If you put money into this, you absolutely cannot touch it without major financial penalties. So put $500 in, set it and forget it. If you can, start consistently putting more money into an IRA. Your future self will thank you a million times over. The earlier you start, the better. The best time to start investing was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. So again, check the link down below. There are countless YouTube videos that will give reviews of some of these brokerages. I highly recommend them. I would never push anything on anyone that I don't use myself, and this is an absolute wonderful tool to start really building wealth and putting some of that stimulus check money to good use. Now the last one we're going to look at is my real estate portfolio, which I use a website called Fundrise. Now if you want to actually get into real estate investing, where you actually go around and buy properties or fix up an old house and sell it, or buy an apartment building and do a rental situation, then God bless you. That is a ton of work that I am not willing to put in right now. I use something called Fundrise. So this is very similar to Wealthfront. You need $1,000 to get started, which is a bit on the higher end. That was even a bit much for me when I first got started. This website will manage properties for you. So I currently have 56 active projects. You can see here 38 are pretty safe, just collecting rent. 12 are kind of slow growth, but should bring in some money. And looks like 6 are opportunistic, so they'll pay a lot more money in the future, but I'm not going to see any profits from that for a long time. Real estate is one of the safest investments you can make. It's much less volatile than the overall stock market. The gains tend to be a little bit lower, so I'm making 3.4% all time, and I've only been in it for actually less than a year now, so I'm not really too worried about that number. Whereas if I go back to my Wealthfront for a moment and I look at some of these numbers, because I've had an IRA for 6 years now, I have 133% return, which I don't need to tell you is substantially higher than 3. But these things take time, and that's okay. Now, I could go on and on and on about investing, but I just wanted to mention the 3 of them off the bat real quick. Acorns is the easiest way to get started. This will just invest your spare change for you automatically to get you into the markets. It's a great idea for those who want to be as hands-off as possible. Wealthfront is really great if you're a little bit more serious. If you can dedicate at least $500, you can get started with a retirement account. This will build wealth for you over the next 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, however young or old you are right now. And then Fundrise, I would say this is probably the lowest priority, but it's still a great way to diversify the money that you have. Again, you need at least $1,000 to start, which I realize is a little high, but it's not going to be nearly as volatile. There are years when the stock market does go down, and we've had a pretty good run the last 12 years or so, but when the market goes down, real estate tends to stay pretty safe. Again, I'll leave a link in the description down below for a sign-up link to Fundrise as well for anyone that's interested. As you can see, the advisory fees I paid 35 cents 2021 year to date, so I'm barely paying 10 cents a month for them to manage my money in this real estate portfolio. I think we get 3 months free of no advisory fees, which again, it's not going to save much money, but saving any money at all is the name of the game, so I highly recommend it. So thanks for sticking around to the end. I know this video got a little long and technical, but I think this is all super important information. I hope that you will all use your stimulus check money to help yourselves in the best way you see fit. I realize many people have essentials that they need to buy, but I can't stress enough how important it is to get started with saving and investing. If anyone wants a more detailed explanation of anything that I covered today, I'll leave my personal email down below in the description. Just message me and say finance help in the subject line, and I'll respond as quickly as I can. I really enjoyed talking about finance, and there's only so much I can cover without making this video obnoxiously long. So with that, you guys, I hope you all have a great week, and I hope that we all get back to performing and earning a lot more money as soon as possible. Until next time.